Welcome to the 2012 Peace Day Global Broadcast, our fourth annual global broadcast celebrating, documenting, and sharing Peace Day activities taking place all over the world. First of all, we want to wish a very happy Peace Day to all of the people in the Pacific Rim and in Asia where it is already Peace Day. It's currently 4 o'clock p.m. on Thursday, September 20th, in the Pacific Northwest at the All Things Peace studio where we do the Peace Day broadcast out of. However, over in New Zealand and in Tonga, China, Australia, North and South Korea, it is already September 21st. They are over 19 hours ahead of us, and so the first thing we want to say is a very happy Peace Day to all of our friends over on that side of the world. We will be going to New Zealand very shortly at the top of the next hour for the very first of our global Peace Wave happenings. Now, what the Peace Wave is this year is a minute of silence and moment of peace at noon in every time zone around the world. So we're going to start in New Zealand in just about an hour with the Maori elders who are participating with us, which we want to thank them greatly. We'll then move on. We'll go on over to Australia, over to China, over to Indonesia, and then on to India and the Middle East, Africa, Europe, the United Kingdom, across the pond to the United States, across and all the way over to Hawaii. And there'll be live events in every one of these locations, almost all time zones. We currently have over 40 live locations taking place in this year's Peace Day Global Broadcast from over 30 countries. And I really want to thank all of the amazing partners who are participating this year. Rotary International, Peace One Day is allowing us to simulcast their unbelievable Global Truce 2012, which will be taking place at 7:30 in the evening, London time, from the Wembley Arena. That is 11:30 Pacific time, for those of you who are looking at this from the Pacific time zone. And we also have events in Australia. That's going to start in about 2.5 to 3 hours from Cairns. And then we'll be also in China with some of the representatives from the United Nations IDP Committee, Deborah Muldoon in particular with World Peace Prayer Society. We'll then be over in Bangladesh. We'll be in Nepal for the Nepal Music Festival. We've got a really, really lovely intention-setting video coming up in just under a half an hour from Sri Bhagavan out of India and the Oneness University. There are so many live locations. In fact, we have a studio in Montreal, Canada. Your host there will be Jean Trudel. In Zaragoza, Spain, once again, Dr. Michael Dolgoruki. And I'm your host here in the Pacific Northwest for the American time zones, and for South America, my name is Stephen Fantle. Over the next 4 days, as I said, we will be in about 40 locations and over 30 countries. And we want to thank the other partners who are providing location feeds and have gone to such great lengths to make this a really global Peace Day for 2012. Those include Peace Day Live. They have concerts in multiple locations: Los Angeles, New Orleans, Israel, Cairns, Australia, which I said was just coming up, and quite a few other locations. There's also Jammin' for Harmony, who's going to be providing concert footage from places in Africa, Europe, Asia, and New Zealand. The International Cities of Peace, we've got Messages of Peace, which we'll be showing you over the course of the next 4 days. The Rotary International putting on a peace marathon, as well as the Mayors for Peace with messages from various mayors, some of them live, which you'll be seeing. And this is such an important part of what we're trying to do with the Peace Day broadcast, is connect the dots. Connect the cities around the world that have already declared for peace, to give you a mechanism to reach out in your local community for peace, to ask your mayor if they're not a mayor for peace already, to make your city a city of peace, and connect with the thousands of other cities which already have declared that they are a city of peace. In this way, this year, we will move forward towards creating a more just, sustainable, and peaceful world. Now, we've got quite a few highlights, some of which I've already talked to you about. But one which is, of course, very dear to our heart is the activities taking place at the United Nations on the International Day of Peace, the ringing of the peace bell, and other activities. It just so happens that we have Michael Johnson, who is the primary UN representative from Pathways to Peace to the United Nations, and one of the committee members for the United Nations NGO International Day of Peace Committee. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about what's going on at the United Nations on September 21st, the International Day of Peace. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's really nice to be with you to speak about the National Day of Peace. Really happy about that.
Can you share with us some of the activities that will be covered at the United Nations for Peace Day this year?
Sure, be glad to. This year, the United Nations has really pulled out all the stops to make it the biggest and best ever. So how we're going to begin the International Day of Peace at the UN is at the Peace Bell. There's a Peace Bell in the courtyard of the United Nations. And so the students will be holding flags from each nation state. The Secretary General, along with the messengers of peace, dignitaries, ambassadors, will be gathered around the Peace Bell. There'll be an announcement and a short message from the Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, and then he'll ring the Peace Bell. He'll ring it 4 times, and then there's usually a song by the UN choir, a youth group. So it's a very beautiful. It's a beautiful courtyard. It's down by the East River, and it's just a wonderful outlet. So from the Peace Bell ceremony, everyone will proceed to a conference room at the United Nations where students from different parts of the country, from Canada, Mexico, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Canada, will be gathered in a conference room to be inspired by this conference. So the Secretary General will make an announcement. He'll speak a little bit, and he'll also open the floor to questions and dialogue with the students that are there. He'll be also be seen with messengers of peace, and I'll name them for you. It'll be Michael Douglas, Jane Goodall, Elie Wiesel, and Forrest Whitaker, Monica Coleman, and Rob Bachchan. She's from India. And so the messengers of peace they'll give a speech, they'll give an announcement and give a speech, and then they'll interact with the students. The students will have an opportunity to ask questions and to interact with the messengers of peace. And I've worked with this for several years so far, and the students get a lot out of it. They get very inspired, not just the students, but everybody in the space and people that are actually watching the webcast. It's a very inspirational, very positive energy. And when these students leave this event, I believe they walk away inspired and ready to create peace projects in their communities, in their schools, and have the experience of just interacting and being in a space like the United Nations. So it gives them some really solid experience. We're also going to channel in youth from Liberia, a UN peacekeeping mission in Liberia, and also South Sudan. And so we're going to video conference students from those areas, and the students from those areas they're going to do a presentation called Our Resources, Our Future. And the whole theme for this year of the International Day of Peace is sustainable future for sustainable peace. And the whole idea is to focus on how the conflict of resources around the planet, conflict for resources around the planet is a major issue. So we're trying to shed some light on this and helping the students especially know about this issue. Also, when we talk about sustainability, we think about the environment. Like if we want to have a sustainable future, we really need to sustain our environment. And so there will be this aspect of it, like how are we going to turn the corner around taking care of our environment. Then there'll be a musical interlude. The students then will have an opportunity to speak about peace projects that they're initiating in their schools, in their communities, and also be able to network with each other and become inspired by their actions and their leadership. Then we'll conclude with a minute of silence, moment of peace. We're calling it the Peace Wave, and the Peace Wave is going to start in New Zealand and go around the globe. We're going to pick it up at 12 noon New York time, and then pass on the Peace Wave that's going to travel west to the U.S. and it's going to complete in Hawaii. So we're going to have a time to really tune in for a minute of peace, to experience that peace already exists in our hearts, and to after the minute of silence, moment of peace, students will then have an opportunity to hold up the flags from each nation state and say a few rounds of "May Peace Prevail on Earth," and then we're going to conclude with singing the Beatles' "Imagine," and that's going to conclude that ceremony at the United Nations.
That sounds wonderful. We're so happy we'll be able to be covering a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm so happy that we'll be able to cover a good portion of that. It's so critical that we get the youth involved in this. And I've been very honored, and I feel lucky to have been able to work with you and Avid Madison, Melvin, John, David Wick at Pathways to Peace and Culture of Peace Initiative in developing this peace wave that will start in New Zealand and move itself around the world. We're talking about this one day, but Pathways to Peace and CPI and peace itself is something that's a year-round job. Would you like to share anything, or can you tell us about what Pathways to Peace is and what the Culture of Peace Initiative
is? Sure, I would love to speak about that. So, if you think just the word Pathways to Peace, the idea of using that language to name our organization was very conscious, and the idea was to really say to the world, to every individual, that each individual has their own pathway to peace, and it's up to the individual to discover that pathway and to act on it. And so Pathways has been around for 30 years and actually helped to initiate the first International Day of Peace 30 years ago. And it was Avid Madison, along with other early peace builders at the United Nations, helped to get the first UN resolution passed that helped to create the International Day of Peace. And then what happened once the International Day of Peace got established, it was like, what do we do after the Peace Day? Well, what's next? So Pathways helped to create an organization called the Culture of Peace Initiative. And why that was created was to, after the Peace Day, keep the momentum going with the organizations and individuals that are really, really fired up and motivated to work on with peace projects year-round. So the Culture of Peace Initiative helps individuals and organizations to find each other, to network, and basically to share our strengths. And this whole, even our conversation today, and the creation of Peace Day TV, and even the United Nations, it's really about humanity working together in harmony for the greater good. And when we work as individuals, we can do good things. But when we join forces, when organizations join forces and work together in collaboration and cooperation, I believe anything's possible. So that's a bit about our organizations.
Thank you. And there is a link in the web player. You can double click on it and go to the Culture of Peace Initiative website at cultureofpeace.org. There's a social community. You can put up videos. You can share your thoughts for peace. If you have a peace project, then you can create a group there so that you have a place within this hub in helping to create a culture of peace in whatever way it is, whatever pathway it is that you've chosen. You can create a group there, invite your friends, and there's a tool that's been provided by Culture of Peace Initiative and Pathways to Peace so that you can do your part in creating peace in the world. Michael, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great time at the United Nations later today.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.